Hello, everyone, and welcome to another bonus episode of Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. This is a fun day because it's in the middle of the day, so we are all the time. But today's topic is about relationships and how we want to get out of them. We know we're not happy. We feel lost. We don't know the answers. So in turn, we just stay in the relationship. So before I get into that, let's play this intro.
This for the queens, sisters manifesting their dreams. Get your cream by any means and beam with self-esteem. Beauty supreme and booty walk so mean. The way you fit in them jeans, you eat your cornbread and greens. Dance or a doctor, red wine or vodka. Redesign your spot and redefine your mantra. Retwist your locks and realign your chakras. Doing your squats and getting closer to God, huh? Crunching with your squad or taking a girl's trip. Adjust your crown, you God's gift to the world, sis. Celestial body, drink your water. Meditate, sun kiss God is heavenly order. Levitate, tribe of Ashanti, black girl magic, melanin popping, whether you ratchet or lavish, whether you bougie or savage, you a gift and a treasure. You got to love a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, dog.
Hello and welcome back to Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. I am very excited for this conversation that needs to be had. But before we get into that, please like, comment, share this video so we can get these algorithms up. Also on the audio podcast. I know you're out there listening. So why don't you please give your girl a 5-star review? I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure and type replay when you're coming chat. Let me know what city and state you are tuning in from. I'm very excited about this. All right. I think we're about to get into it. So let's get our shift together. We have a show favorite, my favorite to be exact. I absolutely adore this woman. You all, she comes with fire. So if you don't have on your she comes with bombs. So if you don't have your vest on, get your vest right now, put it on. And also, if you want to keep your relationship, don't watch this. We've already talked about this before because we're giving you tips and tools. So it's almost as if you can't put the toothpaste back into the tube. You've heard it. And I've learned this from her. Once you know what's going on, you move from victimhood into becoming a martyr. I just learned that Tuesday. We'll get into that as well. I am going to bring my beautiful, lovely guest out of the waiting room.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for saying yes. I love it. How was your day today?
You know what? Thank you for asking because, listen, the fact that we have a cape, sometimes we have to consciously throw that thing on and do what we have to do, make things happen from a place of being conscious, being present, and getting shit done. So my day was busy, but it's just another day in being a superwoman. In recovery.
Yes, we're all in recovery. So let's get right into it. Let everybody know this is Cerita Yvonne. She's been on the show multiple times. So she has a challenge that's going on, but you need to stay and watch to the end when we talk about the Love You Challenge. So you think you're going to get you are going to get tools, but trust me, this is literally the skin of the apple. If you want to get to the core of everything, we'll talk about the Love You Challenge that she has going on, but that will be at the end of this stream. So right now, Cerita, can you introduce yourself to our guests?
I'd love to. I am Cerita Yvonne. I am an educated and validated relational trauma expert and unapologetic, half hood and half holy trauma coach and a phenomenal licensed psychotherapist. And I help women heal from toxic relationships. So let's get into it.
Let's get our shift together. I'd like to start with this caveat. I want to everyone listening to look at this as a healing circle. This is an open, safe space. We're not going to throw blame. We are going to be compassionate and empathetic with each other because that's how we learn. And then that's how it's a safer space for us to be vulnerable and transparent about these toxic ass relationships that we stay in. I know she's about to bust. All right. How would you define a toxic relationship, Sarita?
I think that's a very good question. I think, um,
Because some of us don't think we're in one. I've been there, you
well,
know?
and me too. I think that people relationships may not necessarily be toxic, but people bring their flavor, their toxicity, their childhood experiences, their drama into the relationship in the form of relationship patterns, in the form of attachment styles, in the form of this is how I deal with conflict and when things get complicated. So, the truth is, and I want to be gentle and I want to honor everyone because, see, some people are in relationships that they know are toxic. And it's not that they don't know how to leave, it's that they don't want to leave, I think. And correct
You
me if
think
I'm
so?
wrong. Yes. And the thing is, and I say I think so because let's just get into what this whole thing is about. I
Right.
think that there are some people who don't know how to leave, but not knowing how to leave
Here it
for
comes. Here it
because
comes.
I have to because first of all, let's do this. We have to acknowledge that there are people in situations who um, actually are powerless, meaning financially, meaning there may be some abuse. Abuse is abuse, and toxicity is toxicity. So if someone is basically their life is being threatened, now that person may not know how to leave based on safety reasons. And so that person has to get resources, a plan, tools, support, education on how to leave that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the rest of us, who have agency and free will and choice and jobs and money and maybe even a savings account or two. You know what I'm saying? We have a car. And so we might tell ourselves that we don't know how to leave. But
Ooh.
really, listen, I'm a therapist and
Ooh.
I am all about going to the root. So if someone doesn't know how to leave, it's like, I have to question what is it that you don't know how to do? Oh,
Mm.
maybe I don't know how to be alone. Maybe I don't know how to confront the toxicity in my relationship. Maybe I don't know how to deal with conflict. Maybe I'm afraid of the person's reaction. Maybe I'm afraid of starting over. So I think we have
Mm.
to ask ourselves honest and authentic questions about what is underneath that I don't know how to leave. Because usually it's something barring again abuse, usually it's something within the person that maybe they don't know how to address.
Mm. Can we go back a little bit? Can you explain the difference between toxicity or someone a toxic relationship versus an abuse? Oh, I can't say that on
Oh, you
YouTube.
can't say, okay. So
Yeah, the
in a
A word.
relationship where there may be hitting or violence, can you say that?
Yes.
Okay. So in a toxic relationship, there will be unhealthy relationship dynamics. So there may be um emotional immaturity. So basically, invalidation, disrespect, cheating, lying, a lack of boundaries in a toxic relationship. There may be no real intimacy or communication. One or both parties or everybody in the relationship is not getting their needs met.
Mm.
Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. Why do you think it's so hard to ask for what we want, like truly want in a relationship? Not the And I want people to know I'm not talking about the physical, because it's so funny when we can ask how we want when we want to have sex, but I think sometimes those lines are blurred with intimacy. But how do we ask for things that we want emotionally? Why do you think it's so hard?
Okay.
Challenging.
So let me say this for any of you who may be tuning in right now. I don't want you to think about this conversation just in terms of I'm in a relationship and I don't know how to leave, because even if you're not in a relationship, this conversation can benefit you. Because I think the larger conversation we're having about conversation is not just how to end one, but it could be about how to be in one, how to sustain one, how to know when one should be ended. And so when it
Mm,
comes to asking for what one needs, let's be honest, a lot of us as women, we are taught that we are good if we don't have needs. We're taught that we are good if we are people pleasing, if we go along to get along. And the reality of it is many of us who are super women who, are really good at getting shit done and making things happen and saving and helping and rescuing. In order to do all of that, you have to suppress your own needs. So a
right.
lot of us don't communicate our needs and our feelings and emotions because we aren't even consciously aware that we have them. We suppress them ourselves. And we do that in order to just get by. We do that in order to avoid conflict. We do that so that people will stay with us. We'll do it to earn more love. We'll
It's,
sacrifice ourselves in order to be loved.
it sounds like manipulation ish.
So
Not with malicious intent, but selfish.
It's it is manipulation in the form of hidden motives. That's why these relationship dynamics are toxic, because I have a hidden motive that may be unconscious, that I'm afraid to be left. I'm afraid someone will leave me. I have abandonment wounds. I have issues with rejection. So the unconscious motive is because I got some issues that I ain't resolved, that I'm afraid of someone leaving me or I'm afraid to be alone. I will unconsciously, unintentionally sacrifice myself, my needs, my voice, my wants in order to be in a relationship.
That's a lot. That is a lot. Let me answer this question right here. Shantae. Oh, I think I know who that is. She asked, "Is this Brittany Chambers with you, Sarita?" Wow, I'm surrounded by positive women. Shantae, no, this is Ursula B with Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. And you are still surrounded by positive women. So
Yes, you
yes.
are.
Wow.
Yes, you are. We might have to look up Brittany Chambers because she might be awesome as us. Because this
Yes.
crew right here is amazing. So yes.
Hey, Shantae. So you said it is manipulation.
Well, I said a form of
Of
manipulation because it's
course.
not conscious. A lot that lesson, we had toxic relationships because we're not conscious of the things that we do. We're not conscious of our patterns. We're not conscious of how we go about getting our needs met when we're not directly communicating our needs or when we're not directly aware of what our needs are. That's what
Mm,
toxicity is we're unconsciously, it's like an unconscious form of relating that really is manipulation because I'm
wow.
not being direct.
I like what you said about not being direct because I feel that it comes out as passive aggressiveness or just some straight up aggressiveness. Um, and I feel that sometimes if you don't know what you don't know. But I feel like we do. Don't you think we do know though? Because we have this gut feeling.
What do you mean?
Well, so I'll use myself as an example. I know when I've had some unsavory relationships that I was blind to what was going on. And some things I knew I ignored. But when the relationship was over, I could literally give you an itemized list of in detail of what they've done, what irritated me, what was clear red flags.
We, this is something I talk about all the time, that we keep receipts. We keep receipts of all the red flags that we've ignored and denied.
Mm-hmm.
And so when something happens, we do have a knowing and intuition, a feeling, a thought about what is happening. But see, this is why I'm talking about trauma every day, all day long,
Mm-hmm.
because of trauma. And this is why, if you haven't been to my challenge, you need to show up, because we're going to talk about it later, loveyouchallenge.com, because a lot of us have been taught, we've been groomed, we've been rewarded for
Mm.
ignoring ourselves, ignoring our intuition, our experiences, whether it's your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, have been invalidated consistently. And sometimes that happens in the form of good parenting. Parents who have good intentions, but the way that they've parented the child is really about suppressing, ignoring, and invalidating the child, because I'm the parent and I know best. Some of us have been traumatized because we had parents who were abusive or invalidating, or they had mental illness. All of that, all of those experiences are traumatic because it teaches the child to disengage from themselves, to disengage from their natural inclinations, their natural instincts, their natural point of view, and to constantly question their reality. So if I
Mm.
don't trust myself, I don't trust knowing what I know. I don't trust my feelings. I don't trust being alone. I don't trust myself and truly being able to handle things. Yes, I will actually in real life, be able to be capable of handling things. But you know what? That whole thing of I feel like an imposter, that's just another form of self mistrust, I do believe, and insecurity that stems from not really trusting in who you are, what
Mm.
you think, and how you feel. And it's learned, because you can't tell a child that they don't feel what they feel or know what they know. You are born into this world in tune with yourself. No one has to tell a child, well, you have feelings, it's okay to cry.
Exactly.
No one has to do that. And so for us, it's because of our life experiences, we've learned that in order to survive, we had to suppress ourselves or sacrifice ourselves.
Okay. Let's put a pin in that. We have a comment from Darlene, and she said, "May I have permission to flip this script a bit?" Sure. I'll continue. I have embraced my singleness so much that I have found myself happily married to an entanglement with peace. I now have a fear of being in a relationship. What are the steps for breaking that particular barrier? Thank you, Darlene, for your comment.
Yes, Darlene, I absolutely invite all of you
Yeah.
to post your thoughts, your questions, your feedback, and to flip the script anytime, because this is a conversation and you are
Yeah.
a part of it. And so when you think about, someone, any of us, embracing singleness from a therapist perspective, it would be like, okay, defenses are activated. And so the
Sarita,
exactly.
you know
So
what I'm
it's like, and there's nothing wrong with being single or choosing to be single or choosing to enjoy your peace and not having to be responsible the way that we have to do in a relationship. And so when we've gotten comfortable, whenever we are ready, it's like there has to be a rebalancing, a recalibration with oneself, of
mm,
inviting in intimacy, vulnerability, and connection, of creating a secure foundation within the self, knowing that I can still be with another person and still, and it's a practice, trust me. I can be with another person and still know that regardless of what that person's behavior is, that I can still choose peace, that I can still be peace, that I can deal with conflicts in a way that allow me to be heard and to address problems and know that I can do so while still holding on to peace. It is a practice. And I think we have to be ready to invite other people into our world and to be willing to explore theirs. So, how do you get out of it? It's practice and willingness to connect with another human being, knowing that it's not going to always be easy and it can't always be about you. And it definitely can't always be about the other person. There has to be a balance.
Oh, Darlene, great, great question slash comment. That resonates with me. We've had this conversation in the Love You Challenge when I was in the love seat. So this resonates.
It's interesting when you're doing your healing work and you're single because, you've gotten to know yourself. You've gotten to know what you want and you're discovering more about yourself. And it can be a little bit scary to get back out there, which is normal. And it's okay to get back out there and still be willing to date. Because the thing is, what may be different now is that you trust yourself. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
rely on knowing what you know from a place of security and not operate from a place of fear.
Mm. Okay. I just had to take a nice deep breath. Darlene, if you have any other questions or anyone else, please drop them in the comment section. And also let me know what state you all are tuning in from. So moving forward, can you name well, let me name some of the reasons I was reading up on what people, and you already touched on it, why people stay in relationships. And it was the hope, the fear, uh maybe pity, but what really got go ahead, what?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
But what really got me was comfort. I had to think about that. The way I took it was comfort, like you gravitate to what's familiar, even if it's not good. But you let me know.
So I think some people do stay in relationships out of comfort, but so there's a lot I could say about comfort because when you think about, I'm just comfortable. I know this person. And in and of itself, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But if it's toxic, if it's painful, and yet it's comfortable, that is exactly what I would call trauma. And
Ooh.
so if I have experienced childhood trauma of unpredictability, a lack of safety, betrayal, violations, whether they were violations of, protection or emotions, or just violating my perception, devaluing me in some way. If a parent is a narcissist or a covert narcissist, basically what that creates is an individual who has learned how to attach to people who hurt them, people who will invalidate them, people who will make them work for love, people who are perfectionistic. And so, if I've learned how to be in relationship with people who hurt me, then naturally I'm going to be attracted to people who are toxic because that is what is familiar to me, and what is familiar is comfortable. Does that make sense?
It does. So now it makes sense when you talk about the shame that comes in relationships with that.
So,
I would feel shameful. I have felt shameful. Let me keep it real.
So when you talk about shame, that's a larger conversation. I think we could do a whole podcast or six on shame.
Hmm.
A lot of us struggle with shame. That's just the reality of it. Okay. A lot of us are struggling with shame, toxic shame. Toxic shame is at the root of this feeling of unworthiness that so many of us struggle with. And a lot of us struggle with shame because it is a natural consequence of trauma, because it is shameful to the soul. It's shameful to human beings to be treated as subhuman, to be devalued. It is shameful. It's a shameful experience to experience racism, because the idea that as a person, I'm invalidated, I'm invisible, I lack value. First of all, we know that it's a lie, um, as some people say, from the pits of hell. But that is the natural consequence of experiencing trauma is shame. And we know
Mhm.
that from trauma research. And so, because for people, especially children, the symptom of trauma is that I must have done something wrong, because you don't have the capacity to think through it, to
Right.
understand what's happening. And so most of the time we internalize our traumatic experiences feeling that something is wrong. And that's how we develop toxic shame, which is thinking or feeling or believing that we're defective.
Mm. Yeah, can we come on to talk about toxic shame in the near future?
I love to.
Again, if anyone has any questions you or comments you have for Sarita, please drop them in the chat. We do not mind. This is an open circle. What is your perspective? What are your thoughts on a build a man?
Girl, you just so you said, what are my thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, because I
Like
feel
why we
sometimes,
do it?
yeah, like why do we do that? I feel, oh, wait, we have another comment coming in. I feel that sometimes Lord, okay, let me tackle this. Darlene again. Yes. She said, thank you, ladies, so much for your feedback. I guess I just see so many issues within other people's relationships that I just choose me and nobody. And the BS that they may carry is worth me jeopardizing the maintenance of my peace and well being. I'm better than someone cheating on me, me, whether if it's emotional or physical, disrespecting me or playing with my emotions like they are playing the game of football. Red flags here, yellow flags there. Woo, child. I just can't fathom going through.
Okay, so
Thank you,
that's far
Darlene.
from that whole build-a-boo conversation, but Darlene, you are what I gather from that comment is that you have a lot of fear about what you don't want to experience. And the reality is, in this beautiful life of ours, your beautiful life is yours. You cannot be looking at other people's lives and what they have chosen for themselves, or what they have experiences, or what traumas they are continuously reenacting, and using that as your reason for not fully living your life. Now, if you just don't want to deal with nobody, that's your choice. But if you're basing your choice looking at what other people's painful experiences are, then I think that you are absolutely limiting yourself. And I encourage you to question, are you really living according to your own values, or the worst possible scenario? Because the reality is, relationships can provide healthy relationships can provide wonderful opportunities for connection, for emotional like validation, for attunement, for just having a great time and companionship. But the reality is, we can never control another person. Just like if I have a kid, I can do my best with what I've been given, but I really don't know how they're going to turn out, because they got to go to school, and they got the culture, and they got TV and internet, and they are influenced by things, and they can make their own choices because they have agency.
Mm,
Now, we have to be clear about what our power is in relationships always, because you're in a relationship, your responsibility is not to control or to dictate to the other person who to be or how to be, but you can always set and reinforce your boundaries and what you will do if said things occur. Now, see, if, for example, you talked about cheating and toxicity and red flags. And so the first thing is if a red flag show up, see it, call it, own it,
Mm.
deal with it. Number one, because if any of us are committed to doing that, then the play can't advance. You know what I'm saying? Game over. We got to call in a whole new team, honey, because this coach who's in session, who's calling these plays, is not having it. You know what I'm saying? Referee on board.
Yeah.
And so I say these red flags ain't really happening. The person is cool, and you let them into your world, and you are secure in you. You're honest with you. You are ride or die for you, and you are interdependent with them. And let's say they violate the relationship, which can happen.
Mm.
Then, if that happens, you must know your power. And your power is not to keep yourself from not grieving or feeling sad or, keeping yourself from having relationships. Your power is what do you do with that? How do you handle it? How do you take care of yourself? How do you decide to move forward or not with the relationship? How does the other person, are they willing to address the betrayal? Are they willing to be honest about whatever was in them that caused them to violate the relationship?
Wow.
Healthy relationships are complicated, and healthy relationships require both parties to be fully invested, not perfect. Yes, we expect people to make a commitment and honor the commitment, but the reality is somebody's going to fall short in some way, sometime. What are we going to do? That's your power.
So what I hear you say in Ursula's words, the way I have it, that with healing comes, oh wait, let me back that up. So say Darlene and I are out having some cocktails and we meet some men and we see the red flags. Now, this is before we've done our work. We would entertain it, turn into a relationship 10 years down the line, as opposed to, okay, that's a red flag. And we probably would have only dated 6 or 3 months. Does that make sense?
Okay,
Like we,
so
uh-huh,
before our healing journey, we probably were codependent superwoman with a little bit of perfectionist or maybe even a lot. And so before healing, what we do is I'm looking to be attached because I need to be needed because of my own heal wounds. So I don't feel worthy unless I'm giving and doing. You see where I'm going with this? And so
right.
because I need to be needed, I'm going to attract someone who benefits from my need to be needed because they have a need to be validated, which is someone with some narcissistic traits. And so we know someone with some narcissistic traits, or maybe even they got the same traits as me. They're looking for love because there's a void, or they believe based on their trauma that there is a void in them. So we're going to connect. We're going to connect hard and fast and quick, and we're going to call it chemistry because, see, we know each other's dance, which is based in wounds, which is based in need me and fear of abandonment. And oh my God, I need a seat filler. I need a person, which I'm going to call every other person my person, which is what I did. Oh, I think I found my person. Like, it's number 12, right? Like, this is the mass singer. Okay. I'm my person. And so,
The master. That's a good one.
when we got issues, we don't set boundaries. And we don't set boundaries from the beginning. So we don't take the time to get to know people and let them really get to know us. Because I got all these wounds. I don't know how to be vulnerable, but I'm going to mask it with doing and helping and giving and putting on the perception that I'm going to be so great and loyal to you, but I'm never going to let you know who I am. That's what we're
Mm.
doing in toxic relationships. There's no real intimacy. It's faux intimacy. It's
It's
more
who? Oh,
like
faux intimacy.
roommates who do it. Roommates who get down with the get down.
Right. Yeah. And we do, when I didn't know any better, I would consider that intimacy. But now looking back, it definitely was not it whatsoever. Mm-mm.
Well, no one taught us this. A lot of us, we didn't see healthy relationships. A lot of us may have been raised by single parents or, in toxic dynamics. So we don't really know what intimacy was. And if my parents didn't have emotional maturity and they didn't get to know me and talk to me and respect my opinions and my voice, how the hell would I learn that that's what's supposed to happen?
Right.
So, a lot of us, I have to always affirm our innocence because we just don't know. And this is why we stay stuck or we continue to attract the same type of people.
Yeah, that's interesting how you said, and I love that, how before doing the work that we are looking for relationships to be attached to. So it seemed
Mhm.
like it's two people with voids trying to fill a void, but there's nothing to fill the void with.
Well, I would say it's two people trying to fill a void, but the void doesn't really exist. The void exists within you based on your traumatic wounds. So when I say it's not really a void, it's not meant to invalidate us, but to say we are whole, complete beings. But if
Mm,
something must have gone wrong in life, if we are not in tune or attached to that sense of being whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, again,
right.
I have to use references of children because they are whole. You know what I'm saying? That you can't, they don't say, well, mommy, I don't feel like I'm good enough for 6 cookies before dinner. I don't feel like I'm good enough for toy. They want everything when they want it. They don't question. They just want to know why you keep talking about you ain't got no money. Like what? I'm supposed to have. I don't
Mm.
understand even what you're saying. You can't get me because you don't have money. I don't even know what that means. Just go to the store and get it. And so this idea of having a void, why it's not even an idea, it's an experience that is
Oh, I like
a
that.
result of trauma. Because in order to survive the trauma, I had to disconnect from myself. So that void that so many, including me, suffered with is that the true love that I was longing for was me. It was my
Mm.
own soul. But I was looking for it in one or two penises, I can't lie. I was looking for it in other people, but it was me, and it was in me all the time.
Y- Yeah, I have two questions, one statement and a question. If you can explain to people what it means to be whole. I feel like people hear that term, but here I think hearing it from a relational trauma coach, that would be the ultimate. And well, I'll let you answer that, and then I'll go with my second.
So, I think if you ask, 10 different people what wholeness is, they will give you 10 different answers. I can tell you my perception and definition.
Yes.
So, me, in my life, I had this deep sense of shame and unworthiness that I tried to feel with, labels and titles and education and jobs.
Mhm.
And I knew that I had this disconnect from my voice because I would say to myself, I want to find my voice. So there was an essence within me that recognized something's not right.
Mhm.
Something's missing. Like,
Right.
I'm feeling like I'm not good enough, but that doesn't feel normal because it's not normal. And so I think with wholeness is really self-connection. It's
Mhm.
self-awareness, and I think it is unapologetic self-appreciation. When you are whole, you know that you are imperfect because you know that you are completely human. Hello, somebody. You are completely human, which means that you have all of the capacities of a human. You have the capacity to create miracles and to be creative, to love, to be courageous. You have the
Oh,
capacity to connect,
the
and you
8
have
C's.
yes, you have
Oh,
you see how I slid that up in there? You have
oh.
the capacity for all of that, but you also have the capacity for jealousy and sadness and treachery and anger and volatility and rage. And how you choose to show up and how you choose to express yourself is a choice that you can make consciously. But being whole means recognizing that you are already complete and that in your completeness, you are completely holy right now.
Mm.
You don't have to earn it. Someone else doesn't have to anoint you. You
Yeah.
don't have to be validated by some external thing or circumstance. It's
Right.
that you are everything right now.
You have
And
everything
in
you
being
need from
everything right
within.
now, you can continue to grow and evolve and change. That is the beauty of being whole because you're never done with evolving.
Mm.
Trauma is adapting to pain. Trauma is adapting to painful and hurtful and violating experiences and situations. But being whole is being flexible, living in that flexibility, being conscious to to the reality and to the world around you. That was a long ass answer. I know. But
No,
I think that I can't give you a complete answer in 3 words.
not when it comes to wholeness at all. But I wanted people to hear that because sometimes, and this could be, you never know the first time someone's even hearing about being whole. So I felt like that long answer was definitely needed. And I love what you said about, I really loved how you put the 8 C's in there. That slide you show in class makes me, I always tear up when I don't know, it's, it feels so joyful when I see that slide. It really makes me cry. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. Let me just say this because there are some people who are your listeners who don't know what they are. And so, um, when in Love University, in my program, I teach that you have parts of you that have been hurt and wounded, and parts of you that have worked very hard to protect you from feeling that pain. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? Because that's how we keep going. But wholeness is about recognizing that there is an essence within you that cannot be hurt or traumatized. There is an authenticity in you, a higher self within you, a real self that has qualities that can never be extinguished. And when Ursula talks about those 8 C's, that's what she's talking about, the qualities of courage and creativity and connection, the quality of being calm, these are the
confident.
qualities and confident of the
Yeah.
real you. And anytime you are in life or in a relationship and you are completely and totally disconnected from those qualities, that's because you are disconnected from your real self.
Mhm.
Yes, your real self. And when you think about wholeness, like your real self, that is your everything.
Right. Not in the form of, like you said, achievements, clothes, labels, how much you can control a
People,
situation.
partners,
Yes,
relationships.
exactly. So, hmm, what is something, if a person can do one thing to learn to start to rebuild their self-trust, what's something that they could do that's attainable? Because this is a lot for someone who has been a lifelong people pleaser, victim, martyr, as I just learned those terms. That's a lot. But what's a baby step someone can do?
So, self-trust is definitely a part of the healing process and a baby step. See, in building self-trust really is about you rebuilding your connection to yourself, rebuilding your relationship with yourself. So, you can start with simply honoring and acknowledging how you feel without
Ooh,
suppressing it, without shaming, without blaming, recognizing that it's okay for you to have feelings and thoughts and emotions that aren't always pretty or perfect. Because when you can acknowledge your humanity, then you begin to rebuild self trust. Because the reason why we lose that sense of self trust is because we're trying to perform to please other people. We're trying to earn love. We're trying to be liked. When we're children, we're simply trying to survive.
right.
And so that self trust is reconnecting and re engaging with your intuition, with your, as I said, your feelings, practicing honest self expression, even when it's uncomfortable.
That's a true superwoman. I feel when you can express your true feelings. I don't know. It seemed like the longer I've been taking your class, that I can see it in people, not in a judging way, but I can just see it, and I can see it in myself too. And I'm still learning, but the perfectionism, how it shows up, and mm, yeah, because there's some parts of me that I didn't well, yeah, I didn't realize that was perfectionism at all. But I also am very cognizant that my my mom taught me the playbook on perfectionism. Yeah, yeah. She had her black and white striped shirt. She had the earmuffs on, and she had the playbook right here. And I was on the sidelines, just taking subconscious notes. And then here we go. This
This is, listen, what you just described is human development
mm,
101. That's it. You know, children, parents used to say, and I used to hate when my mom would say, do as I say, not as I do. We
I
know
hate that.
inside, girl.
Oh, that pisses me the
And if you're a
off.
parent, please stop saying that. Remove that from your repertoire, please.
Can you tell them
Um,
why you suggest that?
oh, you are all over the place. So, yes, first, okay, let me say this. One is it needs to not be said because, first of all, human beings learn by modeling. It's called the social learning theory. We learn by imitating.
Hmm.
Children don't listen to what you say. Why you think you got to repeat shit 8, 9, 12, 16, 22 times? And I guess you forgot when you was a kid how you was hard-headed and you ain't listen. You listen sometime, but you know what I'm saying? That was out of survival. The
Right.
way that we learn is through imitation. And this is why it can be so easy that we transmit trauma, which is intergenerational trauma, because we naturally take on the patterns and behaviors that are taught to us directly and indirectly, consciously and subconsciously or unconsciously, from our parents and our caregivers. And the reason why parents should not say, don't do as I say, not as I do. First of all, because you come off as a hypocrite. So that right there can it can sever trust between a parent and a child. Because now you're telling me to be perfectionistic and to do things that you are not even willing to do yourself.
Oh,
Oh, and we recognize it as kids, and I know because if I were to ask you about your own childhood, if that happened to you, you could tell me that you recognize it as well.
mm. We have a question and a comment. So let me go with the comment first. Hey, Laquita, yes, this is a live, sis. Yes. And she says she's been listening while working and could have been chatting.
Look,
Laquita,
get
it's
the
not
chatting,
too
girl.
late.
Tell
The
us what
live,
you were saying. You got some questions. Throw your 2 cents
right.
up in there.
That live button is still live. The live button, it's wait, the button is buttoning right now. So drop that comment in the section, Laquita. So yes, it is live. And um Tamika, hi Tamika. She
Hey,
said
beautiful.
self-trust is a journey, a practice
And the
too.
practice too. Yes, girl. I think as for trauma survivors, it's a journey because it is a practice. It is not something that is just going to be automatically perfect because our survival required us to disconnect from ourselves and our natural inclinations, as I said. That is creates a sense of distrust. So now it's like I'm relearning myself. I'm reconnecting to myself. Excuse me. I'm getting to know myself. That takes practice. And sometimes you may not necessarily get it right in the moment, because if I've learned to suppress my feelings on the healing journey, I may not realize in the moment that I suppress them, because now you're operating in automatic. So you will
Oh,
automatically disconnect yourself, because when stress comes, when conflict comes, you will automatically kick in to how you've adapted, what you learn. So if that means someone is getting a little funny, they raising their voice, you know what I'm saying? They might be coming at you. If you're the type of people pleaser person, or you have a part of you that people pleases, you'll just shut down. You might withdraw. You might stop talking. You see what I'm saying? Because that's
ooh,
what you've practiced for so long. So the practice of self-trust would be to begin to tune in, because you're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel it in your throat. You know what I'm saying? You know, we do. We feel it when you feel like somebody trying you, or they coming at you, or they're being passive aggressive with you. And so when you get that feeling, it's like, oh, that's an indicator or an invitation to tap back into yourself instead of checking out.
mm. Check in and not out.
Yes. Check into how you feel, what you think, and you can start expressing yourself and setting boundaries instead of going off or crying or making yourself responsible, blaming yourself or blaming other people. You can say, when you said this thing, I felt. Do you see how you take responsibility, but then you're expressing yourself, you're showing up and creating an opportunity for repair or creating harmony or having a conversation?
Right.
That's the journey.
As opposed to showing up with an adult tantrum.
Exactly, which is really means that your inner child is present right now and has been activated and is the
Activated
one
like a
running the
mother.
show. Yes.
Woo!
Triggered. People don't everyone says triggered. I'm triggered. I'm triggered. But you don't even know that when you say you're triggered, that means you done triggered an old traumatic wound, which means that in that moment you are usually in single digits. So you 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 years old. That's
Yes.
what that means.
Woo! We have a couple of comments. Hi, Topaz. Topaz, also put in the comment section where you are tuning in from. She said, Black adults teach children you have to work 4 times harder than a European counterpart.
Black adults have taught their children that for generation, because it was absolutely true. Like, let's just keep it real. We're not gonna act like Black people were just out here telling their kids to work hard for no reason, because racism is real. Now, has that changed? I think it has changed. Has it changed completely? Hell no. We know, because we see
Absolutely not.
facts. We
No.
see, we know what it is. And so this idea of having to work 4 times harder is because white people can afford to be mediocre. We cannot.
Oh, shit.
That's the real.
That is real, real. Wow. Okay, we have a few more comments. Laquita said, parent is a synonym for Hippocrates. Because the biggest hypocrites are parents. I'm more honest with my children because we need each other's trust.
I think that's so important for us to be.
That's
See, and
beautiful.
let's just keep it real too.
Beautiful.
When Topaz said, Black parents teach their children to be work 4 times as hard. The reality is, our parents who teach us things, it's because they want us to succeed. Generally, they want us to have more than what they had. And so what happens is parents can develop, or a lot of times they already have them, qualities that are perfectionistic, meaning especially we listen, we Black here, okay? And we know that, as I talked about, I'm going to bring this full circle so I can explain this whole thing. As I mentioned earlier, the whole idea of being less than human creates a lot of shame. So that means that, in research shows that that is
Mm,
exactly what happens in with racial trauma. it creates this sense of being or feeling defective. And if I'm being or feeling defective, I want to try to teach my child from my defectiveness, right? Because it's not healed completely. And then if I'm growing up in a racist ass culture, I got to deal with that too. And so I'm teaching my child who to be so they can survive.
Live.
So that part is 4
Yes.
times harder, survival. The idea that I'm gonna be a hypocrite and Imma tell you to do what I can't or won't do is for your survival. But see, the honest parent, the parent that says, "Listen, I'm human. Listen, the culture is effed up. Listen, you're in this home, you are loved, you are cherished, you are exalted. When you go outside, it might be different." Because you
Mm,
are going to be dealing with a whole lot of people who got unhealed trauma. And so you got to know who you are. And we got to be able to have conversations about what it means to be a human being. Okay? And a human
right.
being has flaws. A human being doesn't know everything. And the more we can be human with our children, and hear me when I say this, you allow them to be human. You
Human.
allow them to make mistakes. You allow them to um, they're going to push boundaries, and it doesn't mean you let them run over your boundaries, but you engage them in conversation. You teach them through relationship instead of punishment.
Right. Or even a hierarchy, you think as well?
What do
I
you
don't,
mean?
well, I know I grew up, it was always I'm here and Ursula's here. So everything was always talked down to. To me now as an adult, it seemed like it came from more of a hierarchy. Well, I'm older than you. You're younger. You don't know anything.
That is a common symptom of dysfunctional families
Mm,
because there's this idea of like, I can disrespect you, but you cannot disrespect me. Let's just keep it all the way real. Because, the idea is parents should be respected at all times, but parents do not respect the children at all times
they
in
do not. And it's
dysfunctional
so funny how it
in
it
dysfunctional households.
exactly. And then it still spills over. You could be a even a grandmother yourself and still being disrespected by somebody older. But now that I think about it, they haven't matured at all. So
That's why those dynamics are dysfunctional. That's why.
extremely. We have several people on the online right now. If you can click that subscribe button in the lower right corner, just click on it to Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together with Ursula B. Would be so awesome. So while you all are subscribing, I'm going to read another comment, which was pretty good. Okay, look, you getting love. Tamika said, "Keep it real, Sarita."
Hi, I love it. She is one of my honey, listen, you are one of my ride or dies, and I'm so grateful for you. I don't even know how you catch me, but I'm glad that you do every time I go live. So thank you.
She said, "This is golden."
Yes, I love when I'm on point, honey, because that's what I strive for, honey.
I want to say this name correctly. Mini Emo. Forgive me if I'm not
I think
pronouncing that.
it's Minimo.
Let me look. Let me adjust the
You
bifocal
know
around
what?
here.
Please, I know who
I
that
can't.
is, and don't judge Ursula because she messed up everybody's name. Okay,
If I don't get it,
everybody.
I just make up the name.
Just call her
Just
Bless. Blessings, honey.
blessings.
Blessings.
I like blessings. She has a question. She said, I just started dating someone and I have an avoidant attachment style. I haven't dated in years because I feel safer alone. So, my question is, how do I know if I'm seeing red flags or giving myself an excuse to run back to my safety bubble? Great question, blessings.
That is a very,
Amazing.
very good question. And
It
so,
is. Thank you.
first of all, I'm going to invite you to trust yourself because I know you and I know that you do the work. And so, the fact that you can articulate to me, I have an avoidant attachment style means that you know who you are. And so you said, well, how do I know if I'm seeing red flags? I think the fact that you are questioning seeing red flags or not, it says a lot about who you are and what you've come to know about yourself. And so a red flag is about another person behaving in a way that is disrespectful, that violates your boundaries, that violates a need. It caused some kind of hurt to you. Now, it when we have an attachment style that's not necessarily secure, that may be more based in fearing attachment in relationships, we'll have a tendency to make shit up. So we'll have a tendency to see things like, "Oh, you said you was gonna call me at 5, but you ain't call me back." I know, but I fell asleep. Now, this is not an ongoing thing, because see, when there's some red flags, they usually don't stop. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
might show up differently. One might be crimson, one might be red, one might be reddish orange. You know what I'm saying? But usually when it's a red flag, um, they don't come in like, you know what I'm saying, like Christmas, like holidays, just once a year. That feels like, oh, okay, that's a human being, and human beings do mess up. So I would invite you to consider, when something comes up that you might be questioning, is it me or is it a red flag? Consider what
Mm.
you're feeling and be willing to become curious, which is a quality of yourself, and investigate, what is this feeling? Is this feeling like someone violated my boundaries, or am I feeling fear? Because they feel very differently when we really start to put our feelings under a magnifying glass. And then you can determine if you want to have a conversation, which is usually engaging the other person with your feelings and taking responsibility without blame. So, when this happened, I felt, and that person's response can tell you a lot. Because if that person flips into some blaming or shaming, if that person does something that is basically, if they are emotionally immature, their response can tell you a lot about who they are, how they handle conflicts, and how they respect your feelings. Does that make sense? So you got to go within and check you first. And because this is a relationship where you want to have honest communication and intimacy, when you bring it to them in a way that is emotionally mature, you can see if they respond with that same level of maturity and respect.
You that was a lot. And I I'm trying to keep myself present because I can see my head going this way. What was very mm, what was very good is when you said how the person reacts can tell you a lot. So I can just think in the past, oh well, if I'm being real, quote unquote real, as real as I could possibly be back then, and they're already tripping. Okay, well, I'm just not going to say anything else because I want to keep the peace. When really that was just an opportunity and an excuse not to hold any boundaries. But shit, I didn't have any boundaries for my goddamn self. So it's just like at that time, just
Yeah.
keeping the peace was easier, but it really wasn't.
Well, keeping the peace is part of that uh toxic superwoman playbook, that perfectionistic playbook that your mama taught you.
You see, right here, yes, that's exact. This is the playbook.
That's so basically what happens is, automatically, using your analogy, when some conflict comes up or a red flag shows up, we get our playbook that has all the varieties of how we practice denial.
Oh yes, it's coded in colors and everything. So it's the one that you want to use immediately. Those are in green, like let's go. Other ones are in yellow. Okay, well hold back, girl.
And this is why it is important for us to check ourselves, check in with ourselves to determine how to address whatever comes up. Because, yes, you are going to be activated, you are going to be triggered, because this is new, right? Not just new, but because of your attachment style. So you're going to be triggered with your own crap. And so, how you bring who you are to the relationship will show you the other person's capacity to be in relationship with you. And they're going to bring their own stuff because guess what? Everybody's human.
Everyone is human. I love that. The capacity in which they come.
Yeah, I'm learning that more every day.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to take your advice, what you were telling Darlene, as far as putting yourself out there, because I can definitely empathize. I can see what Darlene means about just, she's just tired of the, when you see
Mhm.
the capacity of others, but mm, that's
But you
another
get to
topic.
choose who you'll be in relationship with, and you can choose
True.
to invite people or not based on their capacity.
Facts. Oh, Laquita said, Ursula has taught me that if you come through acting up, regardless of your age, and this is true, anybody can get it respectfully, can get this smoke. My favorite move is to exit stage left and leave every heifer to themselves.
That's clear boundaries. And see, the boundary is if someone act up, you can leave. See, a boundary isn't trying to control the other person or nag them or guilt them or make them do what you want to do. It's okay, to the left, to the left. That's it.
Yeah, age doesn't matter anymore. Not right now for me. So Laquita is absolutely right. You know, you get to a point where you get tired of being disrespected. But I do have language now where I can deliver that message. Laquita said, Lord Sarita, you got the glasses off the She's
See, she funny. That's why she said I could have been chatting because she is off the chain.
she is really
You
funny.
got
And this
the
is
I knocked them things off, girl.
I didn't even realize I took them off. And the funny thing, you should see her and her husband. They banter off of each other the same way. It's so funny. But yes, Sarita knocked my damn glasses off my head, and she's pondering this novel you just released. My question is, do the management tactics mention throwing people in the trash? Not literally, but
You know damn well it do. If they could get the smoke and they go to the left, they can also get cut. And I don't mean literally, but you know what I'm saying. I don't mean literally, but absolutely. I mean, that's part of revoking invitations. You got to do that in order to keep your peace. Because if fundamentally they are toxic, they are hostile, they are narcissistic, they got to go because they are the antithesis of peace.
oh,
They operate totally and completely on drama 24/7 all the time. CNN drama. You want to deal
right.
with that? It's a choice. But then, that's a martyr, but that's a that's a choice.
People listening in the chat, you've listened to everything. Put in the chat. We know you want Sarita to come back, but what do you want? What do you want to know? What do you have questions about? What was the next topic? What would you like it to be? I'm just curious on that. But
How real you want us to get. And I mean, any
yeah,
topic, especially related to trauma, relationships, relationship trauma, sexuality, hoe seasons, uh, you daddy issues, mama trauma. Like these are things that are real to us and that really impact our mental health.
I'm
So
glad you said mama trauma because Sarita and I did, I think, 2 streams with mama trauma. I will put that in the description box. It's a must see. Listen, I didn't even know I had some mommy. I had no freaking idea. And when that scab was pulled off, oh my God. But I was so fixated on my other parent that I didn't see. So Tamika said boundaries with children as a single parent. Okay,
Yeah.
this is good
I
to
think that's
hear.
a good topic because a lot of us have experienced that. I think
Mhm.
that it may yeah. Yeah,
So
I
let's
think that
just
would be a good topic to have us, to have some dialogue with and some conversation because how the
absolutely
boundaries are going to look are very there's some that are just absolute must, you know what I'm saying? But then it's also very flexible based on how a person lives, how what they value. So yeah, it's a good conversation.
right. Okay, so Sarita, you have everyone's attention, and this person that we're speaking of, they are wanting to become in tune. They want to become self aware. They want to know how to come as their authentic self. But they love this dream, but this dream just isn't enough. They want to join Love You. How do they do that? What is Love You? How does it work? What does it look like? What are they going to learn? Talk to us.
Well, thank you. The first thing I can say is that if you want to experience more of me, what I do, what I talk about, what I teach, you can join the free Love You Challenge. We start on Monday, honey. LoveYouChallenge.com. And I am going to be explaining basically what trauma is, the invisible scars of trauma, how it impacts you, and how it has shaped your relationships. Excuse me. I'm going to explain how trauma is the source of struggle love. You mentioned briefly earlier Bilderbugs, Ursula, and it's the superwoman syndrome, self sacrifice, and unworthiness. So we're going to unpack all of that. And yeah, I bet you it will be the best challenge you've ever experienced, honey, because it's real, because we got to heal for real.
So,
Oh, thank
Blessing
you. And
said,
so, everyone may not necessarily be, for those of you who are ready right now, I do have a program, Love University. And in that program, Ursula is in it, Minnie Mo is in it. And girl, I already know ain't nothing like it out there because ain't nothing out there like me. And just like ain't nothing out there like you, baby. And so, you know how when we get to talking, how that pimp slang come out? I don't know. It just do. And so, um, Love University is where we do the deep work, the deep dive into understanding your attachment styles, your mama trauma, into understanding what it means to be codependent and counter dependent. Because some of you struggle in love because you go back and forth between two extremes. You want love, you need it, you crave it, you got to be attached. Then you get in a relationship, you get a little close, or even when you think someone's getting close, you disengage, you withdraw, you're filled with anxiety and fear and distrust. And that is trauma. So
mm,
if you are really ready, you can join Love University now, honey. You can still come to the challenge and you can take part in all of this love, this hard earned wisdom of how to heal and completely change your life from the inside.
minimal blessings. You said that Sarita's changed your life. If you'd like, you can type in the comments maybe three, two or three, one or two things, whatever you have the ability, just to let Sarita know, let other people know how it's changed your life. Um, and anyone else listening, I can speak for myself. It's definitely brought a lot of subconscious behavior to the forefront, big and small. I know this one, this has really tripped me out, that with the emotional eating. And I found that sometimes I would go and get some rum or wine or some ice cream because it feels good with the emotional eating. But little did I know I was in a drama triangle with myself and I was rescuing. So little things like that. I would have never known what the hell I even just said if it was 2 years ago. But I know now because I also am a student at Love U University.
I love y'all so much.
Yeah.
Ah, you know, for me, my healing journey felt difficult. I tried so many things that really didn't work. It really didn't change my life until till I decided to become a trauma expert. Like really be devoted to understanding because that's what helped me to understand the unconscious patterns. And that's why it can feel difficult to heal because you don't even know what it is that you're trying to heal. You don't even have a
Wow.
conscious connection to it. You know what I'm saying? Because if I was a smoker and I wanted to quit smoking, I know exactly what the problem is. I know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I know how to, even though it might be hard, I know, like, where to start. But trauma can
Mm-hmm.
feel so difficult because it is a unfolding, it's an unveiling, it's a reconnection to yourself. And so that it's a process. That's why it's called a journey because you are literally becoming conscious of all that you are
Oh my God. That is so true.
and all that you do.
So anyone who's been in Love You or in it right now, let me know in the comments. Do people say that you've changed? You're still the same, but you've changed a little, like if you're a little calmer, a little more patient? I'm just curious. That's just I want to know. I want to know this. So, few more comments. Thank you all for sending them. Laquita said, I love a stream on saying that save because I've said some things that didn't save the relationship with coworkers, family members, and friends. Sayings to save face, save awkwardness, and save time.
That's so interesting. I would love for you to explain a little bit more about what you mean about save. Because you
Yeah.
said to save face, save awkwardness, save time. Because in my opinion, from where I am now, the only way I think you can like save awkwardness is to acknowledge the awkwardness. Like, woo, once you can call it, once you name a thing, then it
Ooh,
changes. It's like, oh my God, yes, finally, we can just stop fucking playing and acting like we're not awkward when we're awkward and now we can laugh about it and be human. If I
that
want to
is the
save
game changer.
time, then tell the goddamn truth and save time and say, I don't like this. I want this. I need this. I want this to stop. Then we can save time. If we want to save friends, we say, hey, in order to be in a relationship with me, I want to relate with you in this way. I like this. I don't like this. And then you can decide, oh, this person ain't with it. So this isn't a relationship that can save. So goodbye. I don't know how else. But the truth is how we get set free, honey. What you think,
For
Ursula?
real. I absolutely agree. When you get to know yourself, you do find your voice. And you're right, practice does make perfect to get the new dating chops out, the new
Look,
throat box.
look. You see, she don't went back to dating again. I think she I think she ready. I think she ready.
Yeah, I got to tell you something off air, something that happened yesterday in a good way. So if anyone wants to come on, or even Laquita, I dropped the StreamYard link. If anyone wants to jump on and ask Sarita a question, or you can clarify.
Come on, let's
Come
do it. Let's do
on.
it. So I hope that makes sense about the saving because I think what can save us is honesty, communicating with honesty. I do. And it is a practice because everybody can't handle it. But goodness, I never have to guess if you're honest with me.
Ooh, ooh, that was good right there. Blessing said, I am more confident with holding my boundaries. It's helped me work through my mommy issues that I didn't, girl, you too. Help with mommy issues that I didn't even know I had. And I'm a better parent too. I can go on, but you get the point. LOL. Yes, you can keep going on. I get it. And I love that you said that. And see, that's why I asked the question. You're still the same, but do you feel like you're different, like improved, new and improved? And see, that's what it, oh, and she said the word confident. That's getting
Yes,
back to
that's
self.
a good question. How would you describe it? Because you feel the same, but not the same.
You're asking me personally?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I feel that I'm a lot more patient for sure.
With whom?
Patient with myself
Yeah.
because if I'm meeting someone, even if it's not dating, just in general, people, and I'm patient with myself because if I learned that if parts of them are coming in an aggressive tone, then it would aggravate and activate a part of me to defend myself. So it's like, hold on, Ursula, back up. So that's what I mean about patience with myself. So that's
Yeah.
why I feel, and I think you told me this too, when someone becomes a lot more patient with themselves or get to know themselves, that they can see it in other people, which in turn you have a lot more empathy and compassion for the person.
Yes.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, when I was working, this person, I was doing a training, and his question threw me off. And he said, well, would you date a man like me? I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, if you're talking about mental health and if I have issues, would I just be a turn off to you? And I was like, no, not at
What
all.
issues though?
I didn't want to. Well, there was 20 people in the room, so I didn't get into what, but just childhood issues because we were talking about,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, like that. Things that we've all gone through. It just looks the same, but we've gone through uh, being wounded as kids. And if he was to ask me that 5 years ago, hell no, I don't want to. I'm not dealing with, but no, the patience in me. And I said, yeah, I mean, I look at things through a different lens now. My lens is literally clearing every time I learn another part of myself.
I absolutely can identify with that within
Can
myself
you?
as well. I
Yeah.
really can. I really
And
can.
speaking up more for myself, that's how I've changed because the playbook here, the pages are getting smaller. I'm ripping them out as I'm unlearning what I've learned. So before it was this thick, and it slowly is getting down. So,
Yeah.
and I'm learning that I had perfection quality parts of myself, and
Mhm.
putting a name to it
Mhm.
helps with my healing.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So
Yes, thank you for that.
so Laquita said, I tend to shoot from the hip, whereas I could have said things differently. Yes. According to others, I was good. My temperament is just short for nonsense. So maybe I've been saving myself all this time.
That's interesting because I think, without knowing more, it could go either way. Because shooting from the hip could be, okay, well, I just say it like it is. But also the other side of that is a person who shoots from the hip, do they practice empathy? Because there are people like, let's say, for example, someone, and I'm not saying you, I'm just using this as an example because we all
Mhm.
hear the word narcissistic all the time. So if
Right.
someone has narcissistic traits, they will say things like, yeah, I just tell it like it is. But they're telling it like it is from a place that usually stems from um, trying to create control and power dynamics, to shame or blame other people, to feel superior. And so, you know, I I bring that up because we can all practice honesty, you know what I'm saying? But if we want to preserve relationships, then we can do that in a way where we also practice empathy and compassion. And I know, trust me,
Absolutely.
because I used to be like, I ain't got time for that shit. I have a low tolerance.
This is
And I
how I
even,
am.
yeah, like I no, I done been through enough. I ain't with it. Uh, and I can say that through my healing journey, my healing process is my natural reactions of feeling disrespected or feeling slighted or thinking that something was wrong, that changed. So that
Mm.
reaction to show up in that way in a form of self-protection changed. It doesn't mean that
Ooh.
I'm perfect or I don't ever, have feelings where I'm or reactions, I should say. It doesn't mean I never have reactions, but definitely those reactions have quieted down quite a bit because I
Yeah.
do take time to check in with myself. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Love it. So we're gonna start wrapping up, but I have a few more. So if y'all have any more comments, let's have a rapid fire. Put them in now, because I will read them. Blessing said, "I let self answer, even though I feel my parts." Laquita. Okay, Laquita, hold on. I see you. We have some fun coming in. I let self answer, even though I feel my parts are activated and my parts trust me to answer, and I'm not overwhelmed with emotions.
That's so
Yeah.
powerful. That
It,
is so powerful.
I love that. I felt
Yes.
that. That resonated with me for sure. And Tamika said, and blessings, thank you for that. Tamika said, oh, what I said, the lens gets clearer as we grow. That part.
Yes.
It does. All right.
Yes.
So, everyone, you hear me keep talking about Blind Guy, his wife, and their life. She is my YouTube sister. She has an amazing platform as well. So, I'm going to bring her on so everyone can, you all see her in the comments, but now you can see her beautiful face if you haven't gone to her channel. Look at her. Hi, beautiful.
Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
I love
it's such
it.
a pleasure to meet you, Sarita, and of course, Ursula, you as well, like being here on your platform. Oh, thank you.
I'm so honored.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you. You know, I had to come on here and clear my good name though, because Sarita, you're so right. People shooting from the hip, like I'm not that person that's not empathetic. I am full of compassion and empathy, and I'm not that person that's just going to start with, you know, keep it moving or whatever. But I am the first one to say it while everyone else is still, giving passes and, reaching in their pockets. And I'm that person that's just fresh out of my children are home, but
Whisper it, Quita,
right.
whisper it.
Okay, I'm fresh out of fantastic things. That's all I'll say. And so and then once I'm the one to say it, everybody else is kind of relieved, but then they're like, "Ooh, Quita said," and I'm like, "Sure did," because y'all were thinking it, y'all knew it. And I'm like, how can we address it if we're not going to name it, say it, talk about it, like you said earlier? So I definitely appreciate your professional input because I'm just a novice. I'm just an everyday person going through life, being concerned about others, and then myself, and being damned for that, for being concerned about myself as well, and not just other people.
You know, that's interesting. You said being damned for that. Um, and wasn't nobody listen, the last thing we gonna do is attempt to soil, attempt to hurt that good name that you work so hard for. Because there is a such thing as we don't play that. So if you are clear, and this is just in general, if we are clear about our boundaries, if we not interested in playing games, if I'm not the one that, we're just going to act like a thing isn't happening that is happening,
Right,
ain't nothing wrong with that at
right.
all. because people know exactly who they're dealing with. They know what they can do and what they can't do.
Yes,
And it
they
I think
do.
it creates a sense of safety because then I know what to expect from you. It's very
Mm,
predictable. You know what I'm saying? When you just don't play. Okay?
yeah,
Because I'm here, I got you, but when some foolishness occurs, we're gonna call it out.
yeah.
Mm.
So
I love
I'm
that.
down.
Yeah, I really love that you're offering so many solutions for this because all of us have the different relationship trauma, like you just mentioned, whether it was a whole phase or I didn't have that, but whether it was not admittedly, but whether it was whatever it was, right? And so so because again, I just know my thing was church. Like I went to church 87 to 2000 times a week, and that's all we got, right? And there were so many things, as you all know, just whether you knew somebody who went to church or if that was you as well, we had all of those dynamics of, if you're younger, you're automatically less than. Some of the things that y'all have mentioned, we had the mama trauma simply because God is all and all of that. We had the daddy issues because God came first, the church came first. And so I really like that, like you're saying, that yeah, we have to name these things and address them and don't feel bad about managing them, because how else can you get through it if you don't manage it? And I always look at like my grandchildren's children, because I think about my grandparents' parents. Like, wow, I never knew them. I wonder what they were like. I wonder what they were thinking, what they were doing. And so, and I'm thinking that they thought about me at some point, like, okay, I got to do this so that my grandchildren's children can be okay. So I'm always forward thinking in that way. And that's one of the reasons why I love that. Yes, let's address these things so that we can
Mhm.
our grandchildren's children will be wonderful. Like the lady, I forget the person that commented about us having to teach that we have to work 4 times harder. Yeah, hopefully that won't have to be a thing. We'll just work harder because that's just a part of our work ethic or excellence, not
Right.
because we're in competition.
Mm. I have a question for you. When you talked about church, was that something that your parents made you do, or was that just learned? Like, okay, I just want to go to church, or because some kids are like that.
Now, Sarita, why you
I don't
laughing?
know
Sarita,
any.
answer it.
Oh no, I don't want to go outside and play. No, I don't want to be with my friends. Let's go to church again. I mean, I don't know, but go
I've
ahead.
met some, but you knew how I grew up, so that was a thing. It was not uncommon. So that's why I'm just curious. Like, how was it
Okay,
on your end?
Sarita answered it, because see that I don't know. So I want to answer it briefly and ask you about that as well, about the people that you knew,
Mhm.
because for us, it was just mandatory. It was an absolute, and it was also in hindsight as an adult. Now I see that it was a way to save us because the environment that we were in, I grew up in the crack, drug, guns era. And
Mm.
so I'm now looking back, realizing that, oh, those things were handed to our communities. Our parents didn't realize when we were in it that it was being handed to us. What they knew is that their friends, people that used to be friends and uncles and normal people that they could leave their children with, they could no longer do that anymore because these are people that would now steal and hurt and bother,
Right.
and there was plenty of that happening. And so in hindsight, I see that, and that's part of why we had to go, because they just was
Mhm.
like, man, at least you're safe here, which we weren't,
Right.
because of course them sneaking deacons was in the pews, but that's not the point I'm bringing right now. What I want to ask you is that, and then so my parents were, yes, heavily into it, and they saw things better. They saw that there were benefits. It wasn't as bad as outside. Now, for the people that you knew, though, were their parents heavily indoctrinated, or was it just the kids wanted to go just because they didn't have people making them go?
So it's twofold. There were some kids that they wanted to go, but I feel now as an adult looking back, I feel like they were trained that way. They didn't have an option, so they said it's just let me go with the path of least resistance, and it's like okay, well I like going, and it was just normal. But on the flip side, there were kids like myself who actually I really didn't mind going to church, but I didn't like the excessiveness. So now I know that unlike my parents, excuse me, unlike your parents, wanted you to go to church to keep you safe. My parents did it out of their own trauma response that was socially acceptable. And it's just easier just to go to church all the time. But they used that. So my parents didn't drink, they didn't smoke. I'm not saying this as a uppity, that's just the facts. But they used spirituality as their weapon of choice. They
Yeah.
turned it into a weapon. So yeah, no, I didn't like going to church. That's what it turned into. So it could have been something very genuine, but it was a form of manipulation. Oh, control. Yeah. And it's extension of their selves, but not of me. Yeah.
Right. I'm
If
with
that
you.
makes
I
sense.
think no, it does. I think our parents all had the same reasons. From what
Mm,
you're saying, I think my parents had those same reasons as well. You know,
mm,
so yeah, my mom grew up in New York City, and she grew up with all my life I had to fight type of thing. Not
mm,
necessarily just because of the city. Just she
right.
just had the city was just like that. And she saw that it was different when she went to church. People won't try to fight you. They do now. Shoot, you know how you see those fight videos, but we're not talking about that. But yeah,
It's true. It's
they done
true.
changed up the church now. They done revolutionized it, but yeah.
Exactly. So it's just interesting how you see different aspects of why people go to church. Um, Not even why they go. To me, the amount, the excessiveness that they would go. But now that I'm thinking about it, I really do think that my parents did it to get validation on how many times a week can they go to church. Oh, that's not good enough. We're gonna pull her out of this good school. We're gonna put her in a church school. So now I'm in church 7 days a week. No, ma'am, that's too much.
So I
This is
have a
too much.
question then. I have a question then for Sarita. Can we do have you ever done a church stream where because it's a lot of church trauma. I don't know if you would call it, but that is something that a lot of us suffer from in different ways.
May I answer that before Sarita does? So I've done a stream on that with a pastor who is also a therapist. And Sarita has also, because we in that Love You challenge when we were in class, and she did a topic of over spiritualizing,
Mm.
and I was all for it. I
Mm.
was all for it. Yeah, but I can see it can be triggering to some people because sometimes the truth freaking hurts. So yes, but I'll let her answer. I had to jump in on that because that was something else when you did that topic, Sarita.
Ooh, so all
I
I
know.
can say is because you didn't ask me a question, did you? You just said about the topic of I think spiritual abuse is real. I think, listen, let's just be honest. Human
Mhm.
beings can weaponize
Anything.
anything in order to try to protect themselves and control
Yeah.
other people. And God, throughout history, has been a popular choice. And so, yes, I think that it has happened. It does continue to happen. And I think that there's an opportunity for us, as we talked about throughout this pod, is to name it, to tame it, to be honest about it. And there will be people, and be comfortable with the fact that, first of all, have compassion and be comfortable with the fact that there will be people who will hate that this topic is even being brought up, that we are attempting to address what is true and real. And we have to make space for them and give them love and continue to tell the truth.
So can I ask another question about that then? Because this is where it gets tricky. A lot of people feel like now we're attacking the church. So how do we heal from something that's real, like you're saying, spiritual abuse, call it what it is, but still honor it, so to speak. Sort of like, how people say, how do you get Big Mama to smoke, respectively? You know what I mean? So how do we, that's just sort of like that with the church. How do we give God the church? Because so many people just feel like once they hear something negative that they perceive as negative towards their beloved religious practices or in whatever way that shows up, then they're automatically on the defense. They're so how do we address that so that the people that need to hear it can hear it and stay in it if that's what they want to do? Because we're not telling anybody, take your membership away or leave your, drop Jesus at the door. But how do we do that?
I don't know that we can or that we
Mm,
need to, because it is not my responsibility to try to convince people that what is true is true. It's not my responsibility to focus on the people who want to hide, deny, and lie about the problem. Instead, I think we need to focus on the people who are interested in the truth. Because there will always be people who will have something to say because they have not resolved their own insecurities. They are not really strong in their own faith. Because if you was, you wouldn't have the time and energy to be worried about what I'm talking about. Because if you know what is true for you, then you would know that the same is true for me.
mm,
So we ain't got time. We can send people love. We can allow people to have a conversation, but they can't own the conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
You
I
can't
like
own it.
that.
You can't. No. That's not how we rolling. I thought that's what, like, ain't they what they say the devil be doing? I don't know. I'm not sure. But but yeah, I think that, there always has to be, I think, being a revolutionary like Jesus, you have to be willing to do what is difficult and what people will judge as being rebellious. Because sometimes
Mm,
telling the truth is just that, it's disruptive. And it's disruptive because it's triggering all the shit in you that you refuse to acknowledge. It's not my responsibility.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for having me, Ursula. I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, you're
Thank you. I
welcome.
enjoyed you. Thank you. I
I
miss
Yes.
saw
you again.
And
that
thank you,
pretty
Sarita.
face pop up in that thumbnail. I was like, oh yeah, Quita's in the house. Because she always lives in my computer. So now with her good food.
You said
And
what?
with your good food. And while I have you on before you leave,
Oh,
I think you need to have a meal prep service. I'm just saying.
so,
Just
I'm
saying.
working on a lot of different things all the time with food. Food is my passion. Nutrition is where it's at, right? Not just food, but nutrition specifically. And so, yes, I'm recently certified, or graduation is coming up. So I'll be a food for life instructor soon. And that's with the PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine up in DC. And it's
What?
so great. Yes. And because you know how you do your research and you know your stuff, but unless you got certification from somewhere, nobody wants to hear you. So I'm just always working on, okay, well, how can I just become more valid? Me saying I'm a nurse, people don't care. You still have to have, more certification, more letters, and all of those kinds of things. And
Oh,
this
you
is
can't be mediocre? Oh, okay.
thank you, Sarita.
I was just asking.
Sarita, see this, and this is why I end up shooting from the hip, because after all I've been through, I'll wind up having to say that what you just said. Oh, I gotta just be mediocre, huh? Because people will keep coming. Well, I know you're this, but what about? And so then that's where I'm like, oh, so I guess I'm just supposed to be mediocre. But so that's what I was saying. I need more better sayings than me just saying that. Or is it okay for me to just say that? Because I've been saying
You don't care. Y'all don't even know why you asking.
it. Right. Right.
She does everything. Like literally, she's a creative. So
Well, I'm definitely going to follow you. I hope that we can
yes.
continue to connect and to support our community and our families in doing what we do, because yeah, what you do is important, What we all do is important and necessary. And so, yeah,
Yes.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, Quita.
Thank
Definitely come
you.
on again, my dear.
Absolutely. I'm going back to the chat. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Mwah!
All right, everyone. This was really good, really good. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Sarita, can you leave us with some parting words?
I want to thank all of you for being willing to be more of you. I invite you to recognize that there is no such thing as brokenness,
Mm,
to reclaim all of your innocence, and try to remember with each and every breath that you take that you are already whole, complete, enough, and definitely worthy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you. I hope to see you all live in the challenge because we are truly creating a new legacy, breaking these generational curses by simply being more human. I love you.
I love it. Love it. That was the beautiful way to end it.
Everyone,
Everyone, please like, comment, share this video. This was an amazing talk and it was so well needed. And if anything resonated with you, and if you'd love to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee for my next stream. I dropped the link, and it would be so appreciated to support the creative efforts. And if you choose not to, the least you can do is subscribe to the channel. On that note, oh, Sarita, one more thing. Guess what?
I am a Black girl getting my shift together.
That's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a good afternoon,
Thank you.
and
I
we'll
love
see
you
you next
all.
time.
I better
Thank
see
you,
you on
Sarita.
Monday.
Yes, sign up for the
Bye.
challenge. Bye.